All right, the next lesson in Algebra 2 is called the unit circle, sine and cosine. Okay, so recall that the unit circle is a circle with a radius of 1 unit. The unit circle. The unit circle is a circle with a radius of 1 unit. Its center is at the origin of the coordinate plane. These next two sentences are very important, okay? The x values of each point on the unit circle represent cosine values. The y values of each point on the unit circle represent sine values. That's pretty easy to memorize because it goes x, y, and c comes before s in the alphabet. So hopefully that's how you can memorize that, okay? Therefore, the coordinates of the points on the unit circle can be written as cosine of theta, sine of theta. Okay, so example 1, we are going to fill in the degrees, radians, now we've done that already, and the coordinates of the unit circle. And this is something you're going to have to memorize, okay? So let's go through the degrees and the radians first. We've done that previously. That was the first lesson in this unit, so this should be review, okay? So over here is 0 degrees. I'll put or 360 degrees because when we get all the way back around, it's at 360. Okay. Up here is 90 degrees, remember? Over here is 180 degrees. And over here is 270 degrees. And then remember, it goes up 30, 15 to 45, then another 15 to 60. Okay, this is all from the first lesson. Then we go up 30 to 90, then we go up another 30 to 120. Then we go up 15 to 135, another 15 to 150. Then we go up 30 to 180. Then we add 30 again to get to 210. Then we add 15 to get to 225. Then we add 15 to get to 240. Then we add 30 to get to 270. Then we add 30 to get to 300. Add 15 to get to 315. Add 15 to get to 330. Then we add 30 to get to 360. Okay, we've done that already. We also did the radian measures. So I'll do that over here, 0 pi or 2 pi when we get around. And we did that already. So this one was pi. This one up here is pi over 2. This one down here was 3 pi over 2. All right, and we filled out all the other radians. Now, I went into that in great detail in the first lesson, so I won't go over it now. You can go back to lesson 1, unit 10, lesson 1. I went through how to get the radians, okay, and I gave you the shortcuts. So I'm just going to fill it in quickly. Pi over 6, pi over 4, pi over 3. Two pi over 3. I'll do the pi over 3s next. This is 4 pi over 3. Down there. This one was 5 pi over 3. Now I'll go back and finish off the 4s. So that was pi over 4 over here. This one is going to be 3 pi over 4. This one is 5 pi over 4. This one over here is 7 pi over 4. Now I got to do it with 1s over 6. So pi over 6 over here. This one over here is going to be 5 pi over 6. 7 pi over 6. And the last one is 11 pi over 6. Now, I went quickly through all those. We've done that already. That was lesson 1. Now we're going to add on the coordinates. So now it's going to come to new things. Okay, so again, in the perfect world, you'll be able to memorize this. But remember, the radius of the unit circle is 1. Okay, this, if you think of the x-y axis, okay, the x and y axes, this is the origin 0, 0. If the radius is 1, this will be the point 1, 0. We'll start with that. This is 1, 0. That means up here is going to be 0, 1. Again, if this is the origin and the radius is 1, this will be negative 1, 0. Down here it will be 0, negative 1. Okay, so I'll call those the 4 core points, I guess. Okay, so this is the origin, 0, 0. Over here is 1, 0. Up top, that's 0, 1. And over here, negative 1, 0. And down here is 0, negative 1. Now, this quadrant one up here, the signs of the coordinates are always positive, positive. Okay, the signs of the coordinates in this quadrant is always negative, positive. This quadrant is negative, negative, and this quadrant is positive, negative. Okay, so here's what you're going to need to memorize. Okay, if you memorize these 3, then you should be good to go. As long as you memorize these 3, you should be good. Okay, so start with 30 degrees, which is pi over 6. The coordinates for that one are square root of 3 over 2, 1/2. The coordinates for the next point, 45 degrees, are square root of 2 over 2, and then square root of 2 over 2. And finally, the coordinates for 60 degrees are 1/2, and then square root of 3 over 2. As long as you have those coordinates memorized, you should be good to go. And by the way, the next lesson I will give you, if you're in school, you got a copy of it already. The next lesson we'll have like this already on it, and it'll have it already filled in nicely. So just a heads up. Okay, so now let's focus on the ones over 3. Let's focus on the ones over 3. So 2 pi over 3 is going to be the same exact thing as this one, but it's going to have negative, positive. Okay, so it'll be negative 1/2. Square root of 3 over 2. Actually, you know, let's just stay in this quadrant. Let's do everything in this quadrant, then we'll move on to the next quadrant. Okay. So the next one, 3 pi over 4. It's the same as pi over 4, but it's going to be negative, positive. So it'll be negative square root of 2 over 2. And then square root of 2 over 2. Okay. 5 pi over 6 is the same as pi over 6, but it'll be negative square root of 3 over 2. And then 1/2. That's why I said as long as you know these 3, you should be good to go, because you can just, the next quadrant is the same as this quadrant, only it goes negative, positive. See? Negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive. What do you think the next quadrant's going to be? It's going to be the same as the first quadrant, but it'll be negative, negative. Okay? So 7 pi over 6 is going to be the same as pi over 6, but it'll be negative, negative. 5 pi over 4 is the same as pi over 4, but again, it'll be negative, negative. And 4 pi over 3 is going to be the same as pi over 3, except it'll be negative, negative. And the same thing for the next quadrant, except it'll be positive negative, okay? So 5 pi over 3 is the same as pi over 3, only it'll be positive negative, so 1/2, and then negative square root of 3 over 2. I don't know what that is. I don't know why. It's a mark from the copy machine. Get rid of that. That's going to annoy me. Okay, so 1/2 and then negative square root of 3 over 2. 7 pi over 4, the same as pi over 4, except it'll be positive negative. Okay, so again, square root of 2 over 2, and then negative square root of 2 over 2. And 11 pi over 6 is the same as pi over 6, except it'll be positive negative. So square root of 3 over 2, and then negative 1/2. In a perfect world, you'll have this memorized because it'll make the next page easy. Okay, so let's move on to the next page. Example 2, use the unit circle to find the exact value of each trigonometric function. Okay, so remember, it goes cosine, sine. Jot that down. The ordered pairs, okay, in the front, they go cosine, comma, sine. So cosine is x, sine is y. So if I say, what's the sine of 90? Sine is y, okay, cosine, comma, sine. Sine is y. Look at 90 degrees and look at the y value. And it equals 1. Cosine, you don't have to write sine of 90 equals if you don't want to. Okay, cosine of pi. Cosine is the x value. So what's the x value for pi? Negative 1. Again, you don't have to write out cosine of pi equals if you don't want to. You don't have to write sine of 90 degrees equals if you don't want to. Okay. How about cosine of 270 degrees? Cosine is the x value, remember. So if you go to 270, the x value equals 0. And by the way, depending on what calculator you have, okay, if you're in degree mode, so my calculator is in degree mode right now. So if I do sine of 90 and I'm in degree mode, it should give me 1. It does. If I do cosine of 270 and I'm in degree mode, it should give me 0. It does. Sine of pi over 4 is next. Sine is the y value. So what's the y value for pi over 4? Square root of 2 over 2. Sine of 7 pi over 6. Sine is the y value, negative 1/2. Cosine of 330. Cosine is the x value. So if you go to 330, the x value is square root of 3 over 2. The other thing I could do is I could always give you, suppose I said what's the sine of 405 degrees? If I just make one up right now. Okay. Let me just make one up. I'm just making up an extra problem. Suppose I said that. That is not on the unit circle, but if you remember, that equals the sine of its coterminal angle, which is 45. There's some glare on the screen over here. Okay. If I do sine of 405, that's not on the unit circle, but that's the same as the sine of 45, because if I subtract 360 from 405, it gives me sine of 45. Okay, so just keep that in mind. If I ask you for some stuff that's not on the unit circle, add or subtract multiples of 360 or 2 pi because they're coterminal and they have the same characteristics. Okay, but again, you want to try to memorize the unit circle as best as you can. Right? It'll be very helpful to make the problems much easier. And that's the end of that lesson, the unit circle, sine and cosine.